Now, today the focus is on how do we develop leaders for our organizations. And our objective is very simple, is to explore the techniques and the strategies and principles for developing, transforming leaders for organizations. We are living in times where, ladies and gentlemen, it's important for us to appreciate the fact that if the value our organizations are going to provide for our customers, if that value is not something that matches whatever payment they are doing or they are giving you in return, they are not going to get back. So how do we use the techniques and the principles that other bigger organizations have used to develop their leaders to bring them to where they are now? So that's one of the things that we are going to be looking at today. So let's take a look at this now. Now what I've done here is I've given you all the different parts of a chainsaw. My question for you is, for this chainsaw machine to be used to chop down a tree, which of the parts here is the most critical? For the machine to work effectively, every part of the machine is key. Now, question to all of you. What does that mean to you as a leader in an organization? Every organization has parts. Is that not it? Now, by the way, the word organization is from the word organism. An organism has different parts. Are we together? And that's exactly how organizations are made. So every organization has different parts, different departments, different sections. And each of those sections work together to make that organization effective. In the same way, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the parts of this machine, this chainsaw, not a single part of that machine is not important. In other words, for the machine to be very effective, just like an organization, every department, every aspect of that machine is critical. Now, the role of the leader is to ensure that everybody who works in any part of that department is given the necessary attention to ensure that they can work effectively for whatever you are doing to be achieved. In other words, for the strategic objective of that organization to be accomplished effectively. Are we together here? That's the essence of this diagram. What I'm saying here is that if you are a manager, okay, and you want to be a successful leader, you are going to have to need followers. And here we are talking about people. No boss, no manager can be effective without people. And this is very, very important, and I want us to make a note of that. That great employees deserve great leadership. Great employees deserve great leadership. And if you turn it around, for you to be great as a leader, you are going to require great employees. If the reason why we need to raise more leaders in our organizations, more leaders in our businesses, is largely because we need great leaders to bring about great team members. And this is key. And if we don't do that, ladies and gentlemen, there's no way that business that we are running is going to be effective. So let's look at the concept and importance of leadership. Now, J.P. Kota is a professor at Harvard, and he said that leadership is the development of vision and strategies. Leadership is the development of vision and strategies, the alignment of relevant people behind those strategies, and the empowerment of individuals to make the vision happen despite obstacles. Now, take critical note of this definition. Certain keywords have been highlighted there. Leadership is the development of, number one, vision and strategy. In other words, you can never talk about leadership without the element of vision and strategies. Very, very key. And when you talk about vision and strategies, the next element that comes in is people. People. Like we said earlier on, if you want to be a great leader, you are going to have to need followers. If you would say you are a leader and you are not having followers, you're only taking a walk, and nobody is following you, you're not a leader. So for you to say you are a leader, you're going to have to know how to craft a vision. That is what we mean by development of vision. Whether you are heading a department, whether you are a family head, whether you are an organizational head, your ability to fashion out a clear mental state of the future is critical. So you run a business, you're head of the department. Yes, the organization has its own strategic vision and what have you. The moment they give you this department and they say, manage this department, how do you create a vision for that department to bring about that future state of that department to coincide with the vision of the organization? And when you do that and you're going to work with people, you're also going to need strategies for implementation of that vision. In other words, how do I develop a day-to-day actionable steps that will help me to make sure the vision that I've envisioned, the clear mental picture that I've developed, can become a reality? That's what we talk about strategies. Then when you need the people, how do I get the right people to put them behind the strategy? So you don't get people in square pegs, in round holes, creating confusion here and there. And that is why in organizations where the recruitment of people are not based on clear objectives, but are based on who you know and family members and what have you, the stated objective and vision of that organization are largely not met most of the time, because you don't have the right people, what we call relevant people, to be at the right place in achieving that objective. So that's a clear definition here. So we don't talk about leadership unless you look at it here. There's nothing like title or position in this definition. Nothing at all. Unfortunately, you have many people whose conception of leadership is that because he's a director, because he's occupying a position, that makes him a leader. That's not true. Leadership is your ability to create a vision, have the strategies, and select the right people, put them in the right places to achieve that vision. Is that okay? Now, through research, through work and experience, I've also crafted my own definition of leadership here. And I've said that leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is the capacity to influence the outcomes of the actions of others by effecting a fundamental shift in their paradigm. Leadership is the capacity. Now, capacity simply means ability. Now, every one of us here, ladies and gentlemen, somebody asked a question, are leaders born or made? And we have always said that every human being has the potential to become a leader. So every human being has the seed of leadership in him or her, which is called potential. Okay? So everybody has the potential for leadership. But you and I know that when I want to eat mangoes, okay, I don't eat mangoes by eating seeds. I eat the fruit. For me to get a fruit, I must plant the seed, water it, and when it grows, it gives you the fruit. Now, so this seed which everybody has needs to be developed, and when you develop it, it becomes a capacity or an ability. Are we together? So the development of the seed to become a fruit is what we call ability or capacity. Now, when you are a leader and you are able to develop that seed to become an ability, then you have built your capacity. Now, that capacity is what you are going to use to influence other people. Are we together? In other words, the skill of influencing other people does not come automatically. Now, when you are a boss, by virtue of occupying a particular position, please listen to me very carefully, that position comes with power. If I'm a minister of state, by virtue of the fact that I am operating on behalf of the president, I have power. In other words, I can command you to do something, and if you say you won't do it, I can punish you. Now, that does not make you follow me willingly. Are we together? In other words, I come to work not because I want to, I come because if I don't come, I'll be punished. How do I get punished? By not getting my salary. So, if I want to have influence, I must develop my capacity that will make my followers want to follow me willingly. Not because I have power. Not because if they don't come, they know that I'm going to punish them. But they come willingly because they love to be around me. They love to do the things that all of us are doing together. Why? Because of what we call the common objective. You cannot pray to know how to influence people. You develop it. It's very important here. Now, when you operate by titleship, when you operate by boss concept, people follow you not because they want to. They follow you because of fear. That is not influence. Or that may be influence but not positive influence. So, what is the paradigm? This is very important. Now, this concept is what is destroying many people. Now, there's a scripture that in the Bible that says, as a man thinks. Now, many times when we quote the scripture as a man thinks, we end there. But the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart. The heart here we are talking about is the subconscious part of the mind. In other words, it's your soul. Now, what do we mean here? And please follow me very carefully here. Very, very important. Very, very important. Now, let's assume this is the brain or the mind. So we call this M, the mind. We can divide this mind into two. This is your conscious mind. This is the subconscious mind. Now, please listen very carefully. When we are born, this part of your brain is active. This place is non-active. This one can reject and accept information here. This conscious part of your brain. This place here is, it doesn't matter. So this part of your brain is developed through 5 senses. What you see, what you taste, we call it our sensory. What you feel, what you hear, what you smell, and what's the next one? What you hear. Now, all these things are external. The stimuli or the stimulus are all external. For me to smell, it must come from outside. For me to taste, it must come from outside. For me to feel, it must come from outside. For me to hear, it must. All these are external. And when you are born, listen, gentlemen, this is how your brain is developed. Your mind is developed. And because this is active, it can reject or receive. Now, when you remember we said this is inactive. This one is like a stomach. Whatever you put in, you accept. So when you receive this thing here, it literally moves down the subconscious mind. When it gets to your subconscious mind and it stays here, there's nothing that can be done about it. This is what determines the way you look like. Let me call it your personality. Please follow me very carefully. So, the way I behave, which has now shaped who I am, is based on the information the conscious mind is pushing into my subconscious mind. Are we together? If I see myself as a poor person, it's because I've been picking information from the external, which comes into my conscious mind, and because I did not reject that perception, it enters into my subconscious mind. And eventually, I begin to behave, demonstrate the characteristics of a poverty mindset. Are we all together here? In other words, whereas the conscious mind is picking information from the external environment using the 5 senses, the subconscious mind is inactive. That's what he is saying. For me, whatever you give me, I take. If we can understand this point, This is what determines who becomes successful, who does not become successful. I've seen people who say that people blame the government, they'll blame everybody, but not themselves. The government cannot determine what you receive with your mind. The government does not control your five senses. They put out the information, but you have a choice to determine what you smell, what you taste, what you feel, and what you touch, or whatever it is. And until you change what you are picking from the external environment, you can never change what your subconscious brain is taking. And that is the role of the leader. How do I get my followers to change the way they use their five senses so that together we can achieve? In other words, the leader must create a common goal that is more exciting, more inspiring, more involving for the people to decide to use their five senses to distill whatever information they are receiving to create a new paradigm to get to where we want them to get to. That is what we mean by leadership. And from this definition, which has taken me more than 3 decades to develop, I'm saying that leadership is the capacity to influence the outcomes of the actions of others by effecting a fundamental shift. Effecting a fundamental shift in the way they use their five senses in their paradigm. Let's move on. And so we are saying that now, if we are talking about leadership, therefore, leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is the courage and strategy to light the torches of your followers and keep them burning for the common good. And I want you to take note of this, very, very important. You cannot be a leader, number one, without identifying the particular torch that your followers are holding. And once you identify the torch, your role as a leader is to use your influence, is to use your personal examples, is to use the way you carry yourself, the way you do your things to make sure that the torch is still burning. And I will explain this as we go along. Otherwise, if you cannot keep the torch burning, it means something is not getting done well. The problem of Africa, like I've always said, is not resources. It's our ability to understand the concept of leadership and how to develop and grow a lot more leaders who will be able to cause a fundamental shift in the paradigm of our followers, in the way people think. Okay, so again, we go back to this. And as you can see, every part, we can contextualize this as human beings. Are we together? So, the handle here, like you mentioned, you can use the thing but not effective. What means is that if this handle is a human being, the moment you take that human being out, like your practice, if the nurse who is supposed to come and inject, the patient doesn't come, okay, you cannot be effective. So the point we are making here, ladies and gentlemen, is that like this chainsaw machine, the operator of this chainsaw must understand that if any of these parts is not working effectively, the chainsaw cannot work to the optimum. In the same way, ladies and gentlemen, each of these parts must be considered as a human being. And when you understand that concept, the moment you walk into the office, your appreciation of the people in that organization changes. Now, what I'm saying is that you may be the boss, but that little chain here can make this whole machine fail. People, it's very, very important. You may be the director, you may be the boss, but that little sweeper who cleans the office can mess up. Can you imagine you have a whole board meeting, and then the previous day the people who used the boardroom didn't clean the place, and the cleaner didn't come to work on time, and you guys didn't know that the cleaner didn't come. Now your people are coming, international meeting, and you're going to have the meeting in the boardroom. They all come, you open the boardroom, and the smell that comes out from the previous night food. Why? Because until that day, the cleaner was not as important as you classified him to be. Please never forget this chainsaw owner. Every part is critical. And when you look at them not as parts but as human beings, you tend to appreciate the role they play. Are we together? Okay. So, what does that mean? Look at the eagle. What this means is that, like the eagle, the leader's responsibility is to ensure that if the company must remain as number one or number two, then we need to create a lot more eagles. So what does that mean to you as a leader? The leader's role is to ensure that the younger ones, which we call subordinates, we must help them to know how to fly and how to soar like the eagle. That is what it means, how to develop and transform leaders in the organization.